It's the Lekker Rugby Pod Instant Reaction with Harry Jones.
How's it, Harry, here for Lekker Rugby Pod? Tough watch in the Kings Park sauna. So many what ifs. I mean, basically, what we were fed was that the super team, which has a starting 15 that is actually all internationals, and in key places, whether it's Kinghorn or Malia or Chocobatis or Willis, there's arguments that they would be better in some cases, on some days, than their French counterparts. If everyone's healthy, at least they'd probably be just as good. So then you had the Sharks missing probably 5 of the impact players they would need and would thrive in a fractured game like this. Fassi would have loved this helter-skelter and would have run away for some people. Same thing, Luke would love that. Andre probably make a pretty big difference between him and Fenter, who got stripped and manhandled. Ibn always brings something in leadership as well. And then you probably think Williams, just a scatterback who could stretch Dupont's legs a little bit. So all those what ifs. My main point of that is not, making excuses, just that if it was portrayed as some big benchmark for the little general, it wasn't that at all. I thought he was not even close to being the best player in the park for his team. I always come away from these matches watching Ramos and thinking, whew, what a skill set. Besides being charged out by Colby in the quarterfinal, the guy is just immaculate. If I had someone to kick for my life, I might go with him because of his strike and the way that it's so effortless. So the game, as it unfolded to me, besides wondering at times whether some of the guys in Toulouse in the money department were, calling the agents of Vincent Chuchuka, Manny, possibly Lorenzo Julius. There's some slippery skills out there that you would think the French would like over the long, hard season, top 14. Was just thoughtlessness. 2 missed kicks for touch, 1 late, 1 early by each of the brothers Hendrikse. It's a 14-point swing. The first one leads to a try by Toulouse when they were struggling, and then the second one takes away probably a 5-meter maul with Toulouse looking pretty spent. The game started with a lot of side-to-side. Sharks spent 2 minutes going side-to-side on phases. And then there was a Movaka break, and the whole time Movaka was on the field, he looked like the danger man, really. Dupont missed Kinghorn on the right, but even his bad passes are brilliant, according to Joel Stransky. He was working hard. And he gets called on a crossing call, and even that's somehow sheer genius. I'm like, it's okay. He's a good player. It's wonderful. We love Dupont in the game, but it's just tiresome to hear people try to make his mistakes into moments of genius. 1 phase too long, knock-on advantage, and then by the Sharks, and then Ramos just powers an amazing giant 50-22. And that leads to Melbourne's Manny Miafu, who ends up being the man of the match, falling over the line, looking like he's dying, and impossible to stop. At some point, that's just physics. So if you're wondering about sort of the makeup of the team, it looks like there's a spine, even with backups. So Marchand backs up Movaka, and you have, Bai, you have Flamand, you have Miafu, you have Crow, you have Gelange, who played fantastically, by the way. And then you have Jack Willis, who everyone speaks of in hushed tones as well as the great player that doesn't get to play for England. You have Dupont, you have Ntamak, who had sort of wildly good and bad moments. When healthy, you have Aki and Chocobaris, incredible midfield. And then you have pick your poison on the back 3 with Ramos as the anchor. But Capuozzo, you can have Blair Kinghorn. So it's a proper super team. The interesting thing is at 3-7 down, the Sharks taking the 3. You wonder if it should have just been 6-0. Take the first 3 instead of missing for touch. Contain yourself, play proper rugby, stop trying to throw the ball around on exits, like, catching a bar of soap in the sauna. Unneeded offload attempt by Hendrikse, hot on attack in the red zone. And then that leads to a breakaway, and Ntamak gets the ball and just gets shot by a sniper and falls down. It was actually quite embarrassing. That should have been 14-3 for them at that point. Sharks were not exiting by the kick, and there were knock-ons galore. Not putting the ball off the park on exits. Toulouse was going forward on forward tip passes, and that worked better, just keeping it short. So it looked like they were handling the ball better because they were doing more sympathetic passes. Toulouse scrum kind of killed the Sharks scrum, and that always brings up this age-old issue. It's not about the props per se, it's that whole system. The tight five really matters a lot. And the flanks can help a little bit here and there, and there's some eights that are good scrummagers, but that tight five just crumpled under the weight of MEGAFOON et al. It was funny at some point that Ox didn't want to take one of those flinging passes on the try line and kind of kick the ball to have a scrum, and immediately got marmalized. So it wasn't really in a refuge there. It was a sort of a sarcastic cheer at some point by Kings Park when Hendrickson finally did exit for touch and put it in the stands. A no hook in the scrum thing is just a coach killer. And there were coach killers by both sides. I would imagine that Toulouse coaches are none too pleased with this performance. It was not dominant. It was not a statement. It actually offered the actual big teams that could beat Toulouse some game planning. Jalanche ran over Koch and then just used his elbow to get off the ground. Just a dominant performance. Handbags followed. There was some bad feeling there, and the penalty reversal maybe been a bit harsh. But then again, I thought Pierce had a tough match to ref. If it was a tough one to play, it was a tough one to ref. And I thought the players themselves probably gave him too many hooks to have to make some decisions. Fanta got his pocket picked by Ntamaka, which was embarrassing. And then Sharks get a penalty at the end. They go for a line out, the maul, and that's stolen by Dupont, and it ends up a penalty, which means 13-3. I thought on balance of play, that was a rough way for Sharks to go into oranges. I think they had to be up or right there. And it almost had a sick feeling in your stomach and thinking this is over and it might be a rout. It wasn't a rout, but what happened after oranges was what we kind of thought might be another weak exit, which actually just as a cross kick doesn't come off. Allows Toulouse to wind up and score. Kinghorn in the corner, slamming the ball a la NFL style, spiking it. He's the ultimate upgrade in Scotland over Hogg, who just needs proper help. And then I think even in this club in Toulouse, he provides length on the side, aerial dominance, and just kind of a willing guy. It's a guy probably everyone likes. At 50 minutes, Sharks do build a pretty good attack with shorter passes, which kind of works. And then David kicks over the ruck, dead, out of the full. I mean, another long phase attack hampered by really cock passes. I mean, like ridiculous. Movaka steals again, almost inevitable on phase 4 or 5. Movaka's over the ball, and Dupont taps and goes and is dispossessed. Not brilliantly, just dispossessed. Joel Stransky cannot find any brilliance in that and sort of still seems to try to find one. Scrappy rush passes. There's really a need of a fight. You just kind of feel like the teams need to just square off and throw. But of course they cannot. But Pimpy gets corrupt by Merkler, who's a real killer. I love that guy. Is he a Spanish prop? He's just making guys his bunny and turning them into chow. Brilliant try in the interim by Lorenzo Julius, finishing off some really skillful play. And that was there all night. That was there all day. That actually was on offer. Sharks will go back and watch this thing and realize that the final score, 20-8, which is what it ended up being, you could easily see that being 13-12, 13-14, 13-6. There's a number of scores in there where you're just able to play basic rugby, proper smart rugby in the humidity, which you would think the Sharks know how to do. Decisions, errors. Dupont spills it in the tackle again. There's a good attack up the right. Hooker punches it for a deep line out in which you could attack, and then Pinche just slaps it out of the hands and gets a penalty awarded. Really dumb. Then he saves the kick out, and you feel like there could be another shot here with Julius being very slippery up the right side. But Manny Melbourne Meafu is the man of the match for a reason as it winds down, because you could just see that forward power in the end was the difference. So A line out stolen, you think maybe about Etzebeth. Ruck setting, you think about Andre. Fracture play, think about Fassi. Arm, you think about playmaking in that lost pass. But anyway, in the end, Sharks kick it dead, which is emblematic. Hendrickse has a chance to put it 5 meters out, kicks it dead, and there you have those 2 kicks. You know, you go back and wonder about that. So a lot of what is. Overall, super team, test team, coming to difficult position to play in, and counterintuitively, I thought the Toulouse played the better tactics, exploited the errors on offer, finished the chances, but it was not that impressive to me. And I do think in the big sweepstakes, the big power game, the balance of power, that Leinster has probably added some, and maybe up there a little bit higher than Toulouse at this point. La Rochelle also might have dipped. Kind of thinking Bordeaux might have been the big beneficiary at this point. Maybe it's a question of relying so much on talent and not tweaking the game plan. But we'll see, you know, bigger games await. So bad luck, Sharks, but most of that luck was made. So next time we'll see.
It's the Lecker Rugby Pod Instant Reaction with Harry Jones.